Are you a Vim user? Do you love the Vim text editor? If you do, I have a fantastic terminal-based file manager for you, vifm. vifm, as the name implies, the VI file manager, uses a lot of the Vim syntax, a lot of the Vim keybindings, a lot of the Vim commands that work in a text document work very much the same way in the vifm file manager. Let's get started. So let's take a look at the vifm website here. So if I go to vifm.info, that is their homepage here, and reading the blurb at the top of the page, vifm is a file manager with a curses interface. It provides a Vim-like environment for managing objects within file systems, extended with some useful ideas from Mutt. Mutt is a terminal-based email client, so I guess they borrowed some ideas from how Mutt does things. If you use VI or Vim, vifm gives you complete keyboard control over your files without having to learn a new set of commands. So all those keyboard commands that you know and love in Vim, they pretty much do the exact same thing in vifm. And I will show you that just in a minute. Here, if we go to the manual tab at the top of the page here, vifm does have a substantial man page. This is viewing it in the web. Of course, we could view it in the terminal. They also have this tab here, cheat sheet. If you go to the cheat sheet tab, there is a really nice graphical representation of what all the keyboard commands are in vifm. You see you have this keyboard and it tells you what each key on the keyboard does for you in vifm. Matter of fact, I really should print this out for myself. I've been using vifm for the last couple of weeks and I've really been kind of liking it. I may actually stick with vifm as my standard default file manager. I like it that much. So let's get started with vifm. So I'm going to open a terminal. Again, this is a terminal-based file manager, so you're going to have to open a terminal. And let me zoom in here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm also going to turn on screen key so you see the key presses. So in the terminal, you type vifm to launch vifm. So by default, vifm is a dual-paned file manager. You have one pane on the left, one pane on the right. These panes act independently of each other. To switch between the panes, you use the tab key. So I'm on the left pane right now. If I tab, I'm on the right. Tab, I'm back on the left. How do you navigate in vifm? The exact same way you navigate in Vim. You use HJKL, so J to move down, K to move up, L to move into the directory I'm on, H to move back. So your standard navigation keys, Vim navigation keys, HJKL, work exactly the same in vifm. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the arrow keys. The arrow keys do function. So there's that. How do you move around other than using HJKL? Similarly to how you move around in a Vim document, GG goes to the top of a text document in Vim. GG moves you to the very first item here in vifm. It always gets you to the top. GG to go to the top. Shift G to go to the bottom. Now I'm actually down here on yes here at the bottom. GG back to the top. Very similar. All your Vim commands for the most part are going to work as expected. So let me quit vifm because this is always interesting. Very similar to how it can be a pain to quit Vim if you don't know the correct commands to quit vifm. :Q to quit. :Q to quit. :X also works. ZZ works. ZQ works. There's all those. There's about a dozen different ways you can quit Vim. All those work to quit vifm. So I'm going to launch vifm again, except this time I'm going to give it some arguments. vifm space, and then I'm going to give it two different arguments for two different directories to open up in. First, how about my home directory, space, and then a different location. How about /Etsy? Just throwing a directory out there. And you see now I have the left pane opened in my home directory, the right pane open in /Etsy. Now I want to have both panes back on my home directory, so I'm going to tab over to the right directory, hit tab one time, and then to go to my home directory, there are bookmarks in vifm, and by default, one bookmark is probably already set. If it's not, You can set it yourself. I'll show you how here in a minute. But hit single quotes and then H, and that should take you to your home directory. So now I have both panes back on my home directory. Now vifm again is a dual paned file manager by default, but you can play around with the panes. If you don't like the vertical split, what you can do is type this command, Control W S, very similar to how you would do in Vim. Control W S gets you now into a split, but it's horizontally split. So you have one pane at the top, one pane at the bottom. Control W V for a vertical split gets you back to the vertical split. So once again, Control W S for horizontal split, Control W V for vertical split. If you don't want to see both panes, Control W O for one or only, however you want to think about it, gets you one pane. It's actually, you still have two panes, it's just you only see one pane. So let me go to a different directory so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to my desktop directory. Now if I hit tab, it's still splitting between the two different panes. You're just only viewing one pane at a time. Again, Control W V for the vertical split to go back there. I'm going to tab to get back to the right directory, and then if I wanted to, again, single quotes H to get me to the home directory in that pane. Tab back over to get to the left pane. Other than the commands I just showed you for splitting, so we had Control WS for horizontal split, Control WV for vertical split, Control WO for only one pane shown at a time. Similar Vim commands would be :SP for split, horizontal split, :VS for vertical split, and and the word only for one pane only. So Control WV and one pane only. It reminds me of the hunt for Red October. One ping only. Okay, so all right. Now how do we preview a document here in vifm? So let me navigate to a file here. How about this file here, ffcat.sh. So this is a shell script for doing some things with ffmpeg. If I hit enter, it's just going to launch me in a text editor. By default, it's going to launch me in Vim. Let me quit Vim. But sometimes you don't really want to edit a document. You just want to see it. You just want to see what it's about, right? You want to preview it. Just hit E on the keyboard. And now you can preview the document. You see we've changed modes. At the bottom it says View. Similar to how you have modes in Vim, normal, insert, visual, you have modes in vifm. So this is the view mode. Now we can, navigate around. Well, looks like I can do the arrow keys to the J, K work and the arrow keys. So we can navigate around here in the preview mode here. To quit, to get out of the view mode, you just hit Q. So not :Q. :Q does the same thing actually, but just one Q. Now being able to preview these files is actually really neat, and there's some really powerful functionality here. Now by default, of course, you're just going to preview a file. So if you highlight a file, hit E to preview it in the same pane that you're already in. Q to quit. But most people are going to want to preview that file, that document, in the opposite pane, right? Because I'm not using this right-hand pane currently. So how do I preview this ffcat.sh document in the right pane? Hit W on the keyboard. And now you have these previews in the right pane. If I navigate down, to the next document, you see I get another preview. Down gets me a preview of every single document and directory. It'll preview the directories. You'll have a directory structure that comes up on the directories. If I navigate the directories here, let me go back to ffcat, that particular document, the shell script. Now, of course, you see my J and K keys are working in the file manager part. It's not working in the preview part. Now, how do I actually get the H, J, K, L or the arrow keys to work in the preview part? You need to hit Shift Tab. Shift Tab gets you focus on the preview. And now you can navigate the preview. Shift Tab to go back to the left-hand pane to be back in the file manager. Why Shift Tab and not just regular tab? Is because regular, just one tab, does something completely different in this case. One tab takes you to that second directory structure that you normally have open, and it's also in preview mode. It's just backwards, right? So you see what's going on? I'm getting previews of the directory structure. If I keep moving down, I get previews of these plain text documents. Let me go to a directory here. How about my .files directory? I'm going to enter that. If I tab one time, you know, now it switches things. I'm back in the home directory on the left pane, still have previews open, you know. Now, you may not want this preview mode going all the time. How do you get out of it? Same way you got in it. You got in it by hitting W, just hit W to get out of it. And we're no longer in preview mode. I'm back to my dual paned file manager. I'm in my home directory on the left, and I'm still in my .files directory on the right. If I tab one time to get to the right directory and then single quote H, I'm back in the home directory on the right pane as well. One thing I want to briefly discuss, let me go back into my .files directory. Now my .files directory has all my config files, you know, those config files that start with a period in the front. We call them .files usually. They're hidden files and directories in most file managers by default. How do you get hidden files and directories to show in vifm? With this keyboard combination, Z-O. And now you see all the files and directories in my .files directory, including the hidden ones. To hide the hidden files and directories again, ZM. So ZM to get rid of them, ZO to show the hidden files and directories. Me personally, I like having all of my files shown in my file manager, so I would just have this turned on all the time. I want all my .files to appear in the file manager. So let me go back to the home directory here in the right hand pane, GG to get to the top, and we're showing all of my hidden directories. Let me get rid of those with the ZM. Anyway, I'm going to navigate, I don't know, how about to my downloads folder? Actually, let me show you how to change a file name. So what if I wanted to change this file right here, report.xml? I want to change the name. How do you do that? Well, how do you change a word in Vim? CW, right? CW works exactly the same way. CW to change word. You see at the bottom now I have report.xml and then a cursor. I just start backspacing and I can rename it to whatever I want. I'm actually just going to rename it the exact same thing, report.xml. I didn't really want to change the name of that file. Another thing you could do for change word is C capital W. And now you just change the file name itself without the extension. You see, I'm offered to change report, but XML is not offered to change. So this would just change the file name. So if I changed it to new report and hit enter, it now changes the name, but it's new report.xml. So it didn't change the extension. So CW to change with the extension, and C capital W to change the file name without the extension. An alternative to CW for change word for renaming a file, capital A. So Shift A, which is the append command in Vim. It takes you to the end of a line and automatically puts you in insert mode so you can start adding text to the end of a line. Capital A works the same way as change word in this case, so we can still rename a file. So report.xml. So CW or capital A both do the same thing, whichever one you want to use. Let's discuss bookmarks. I'm going to tab one time to get back to the left-hand column here. GG to get to the top. Alright, so bookmarks. How do you set a bookmark? Well, you do it with M on the keyboard, so let me navigate to a directory I want to bookmark. I want to bookmark, how about this notes directory? I'm going to hit enter, so I'm inside this directory, and I'm going to hit M and then N. And I just set a bookmark. Now, let me go back to the home directory here with single quote H. Now single quote N takes me to notes because I now have set that bookmark. See how easy that was? So single quote H for home directory, single quote N for the notes bookmark that we've already set. If I wanted to set another one, watch what happens when I do this, by the way. I'm going to navigate down to, how how about the pictures directory here? And I'm going to M for mark, P for pictures. Now you notice I didn't actually go inside the pictures directory. So the bookmark I just set is not going to take me into the pictures directory. It's going to take me to the home directory, but it will always take me to the home directory with focus, with the pictures directory highlighted. So if I go, I don't know, to videos here, and now I single quote P, it takes me to the home directory. Look what's highlighted, pictures, because that's what was highlighted when I set that bookmark. If I actually wanted to be inside the pictures directory to set that bookmark, I should have hit enter and went inside this particular directory, and then I could have set the bookmark. I'm going to go back to the home directory. If you want to see all of your bookmarks, you can colon, and I think marks is the command. Yes. And this is all the bookmarks I have set. One of them, it says it's invalid. So by default, there was a bookmark created. I didn't create it. vifm creates a couple by default. It creates that bookmark for home, which is H, and it creates one for the bin directory in your home directory, and it bookmark to B. Manjaro, which is my distro here that I'm using, does not create a bin directory by default in your user's home directory. So that's why that command is invalid. That directory doesn't even exist. So I'm going to delete that bookmark. How do you delete that bookmark? Well, how do you delete a line in a Vim document? DD, right? To delete a line, DD. Gone. So we just deleted that bookmark. How do we get out of this bookmark? Probably Q. Yep. Q to quit, of course, as always. So DD, we were talking about DD. Let me navigate down. So if I want to delete something, how about this shortcuts.xml file? DD to delete. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to delete? Y for yes, N for no. Yes. I just deleted shortcuts.xml. Now, you know what? I've changed my mind. I want that back. I could U for undo, but I'm going to delete it again. So I'm going to highlight shortcuts.xml, DD, yes for delete, for confirmation. I could, again, U for undo, and it'll bring it back, but I could also just P for put. Because when you delete a line, you've also copied it. P puts it wherever you... So I actually could have deleted shortcuts.xml, navigated to a different directory, hit P, and pasted shortcuts.xml to a different directory. So that's kind of how you cut and paste. How would you copy and paste? Well, the same way you do in Vim. YY to yank, so YY. It says one file yanked, so shortcuts.xml. I just copied it. Now I can navigate to a new directory about, I don't know, not my Dropbox directory, how about the downloads directory, and I could P for put, and I just put the shortcuts.xml file in that directory. I don't want that there. Delete, DD for delete, Y for yes. Go back to home with single quote H for that bookmark. Now, vifm has a number of config files. You can edit them manually. You don't have to edit a lot of these config files manually though, because like the bookmarks, you know, I can set those and delete those within vifm itself. But if I wanted to, there is a plain text file I could edit those things in. vifm recommends you don't edit those plain text files because most of everything that you need to change and config you can do from vifm itself. Anyway, let me show my hidden files and directories. So ZO to show my hidden files and directories, and I'm going to navigate to the .config folder here in my home folder. The .config folder usually holds the config files for most programs on your system. So I'm going to enter that, and then I'm going to go to vifm. There it is. So in your home directory, .config/vifm. And you have a vifm-rc file. That is the vifm config. Now, I could preview it with E. I'm going to quit that, though. I would rather show you the whole document in Vim, so I'm going to hit Enter. And we are in Vim now. Now, I haven't been playing around with vifm that long, so I haven't really changed anything here. Some things that you could change. Set trash here. I guess you can change the directory where vifm stores trash. So those are those things that you delete. You notice when I deleted that file, and then I undid it, it came back. It's because vifm has a buffer. It has a place where it puts all the trash you delete, because it knows you're probably going to want to undo it or paste it somewhere else in a different directory. So by default, I'm not exactly sure what it's using for the trash directory. vifm recommends you don't change this though. Even though you can, it's available here in the config file, they recommend you don't actually change that. You also can, let's see, set history, I guess, play around with some other settings. A lot of this actually looks very similar to your Vim RC file. Things like setting sort numbers and no follow links and etc., etc. Ignore case. Here is where our bookmarks are, right here. So mark B takes me to the bin directory. I actually need to delete that line. I think that line always gets me that bookmark every time I open vifm, whether I delete it in vifm or not. So I probably should delete that line. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and delete it. dd, just like in vifm, dd in Vim, of course, deletes a line. And I'm going to scroll with the mouse wheel here to let you guys see some of what's going on. We have various other commands, various key bindings. Okay, this is really important. So file types. These are what vifm determines as far as a file with certain extensions, like a PDF extension. So file name.pdf always opens in this program. I have it set to Zathura. Zathura is the PDF viewer I have installed on my system. But you could change that to whatever you want. And that goes with pretty much every single file extension known to man. You can set that thing here in the vifm RC file. So your .mp3s always open in VLC or Audacious or whatever it is you use. Dead Beef, one of my favorites. Anyway, it's your standard plain text config file. Pretty easy to maneuver. Start shell in current directory, and that is mapped with :shell. I did not actually know that functionality existed, so I'm going to open up vifm. I have it hotkeyed, so this is vifm. So if I navigate to a directory here, say my music directory, if I :shell, it opens a terminal in that directory. Very cool. Say I'm in that directory. Anyway, I'm going to exit out of that terminal. I'm going to go ahead and kill vifm there. And I'm going to go ahead and actually get out of Vim here. So I'm going to write the file and quit. Another file here, as far as a config file for vifm you would be interested in, is the colors directory here. Go into that, and default.vifm is the color scheme. If I hit enter, it will open that in Vim. And this is where you can set the colors. Where you kind of very similar to your X resources file, it sets those colors for vifm. So I'm gonna go ahead and quit Vim. All right, and that is vifm in a nutshell. Before I go, I do need to thank a few people. I need to thank all of my patrons. This show is made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leo, Rob, and Tony. They are my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. They are the producers of the show. Without them, these great tutorials like the vifm tutorial and the Vim tutorial and all this stuff would not be possible. It's because of people like Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leo, Rob, and Tony that this show is possible. Also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen. You see all their names on the screen. They are the supporters of this channel. If you would like to support the channel, please consider supporting DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.